is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fanatics Collect weekly hockey auction ending watch party. My name is Jeremy Lee, and it is August the 25th, 2025. Let's bring out from the Hockey Cards Gongshow, Mr. Josh Madigan. Josh Madigan, welcome back to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. I've been a little bit rushed, had some family over. They just left, so I didn't, usually I come in, I relax for 5 minutes. So I see you, we shoot the you-know-what for a few minutes, then we go live here. I literally just sat down, but I'm glad to be here. Happy to watch some of these cards. There's not as many tonight, but there are some great cards tonight. And I'm excited to get into them with you and with the chat. Let's say hello to more hockey cards, please. Yeah, I mean, tonight on the platform, there are, I think it's 113 hockey cards on the weekly. And, if you think about it, that's not a lot. Like, I'd like to see us having 300 or so hockey cards here. So I'm with the name of this commenter. More hockey cards, please. Jacob Dahl, what is going on? The professor is here. Good evening. Oh, thank you for the reminder, Professor. There we go. The IG Live has now started. Make Sundays great again. There we go. What's going on? Julio, what's happening? Good evening to you. Jeff McMahon, hello. Sundine 564, good evening. Welcome to the chat. And Todd McDonald, what's going on, Todd? Good to see you as always. Josh, I mean, let's face it, hockey season. We are not in peak hockey season right now. We are in the opposite of peak hockey season. We are in, middle of August here and towards the end of August. But I feel like hockey, this might be the best time to buy hockey cards right now because people are wrapping up summer vacations. They're not thinking about hockey season yet. However, the training camps open up here in the next couple of weeks. The preseason exhibition games are going to start happening in mid-September, run through the first week of October. And then next thing we know, October 8th, 9th, 10th, in that area, the hockey season starts. And it's going to be more expensive, I think, to buy cards of your favorite active players, even at the end of September, than it would be now, because, again, it's on people's radar again. What do you think about that kind of theory that right now might be a good time to be buying? And I'm talking about hockey cards in general. Sure, we'll see some tonight. We'll see some Bedard young guns like we see every week. This might be the best. If he comes out of the gates in the preseason and the first few games of the season, if he comes out flying, lighting that lamp, we may not see prices like we'll see today for quite some time. What are your thoughts on that overall, Josh?
In theory, I prescribe to the whole off-season dip principle. It's been hard, though, these last couple of years with COVID kind of mixing up schedules. And then I think even this year, what happened is by the time the season wrapped up in almost July, and then they went right into the draft and awards, it felt like the season didn't really end until after the 4th of July. And then you had free agency start after that. And so, yeah, we're kind of in that calm before the storm territory right now. Everyone's kind of scrambling. You got back to school starting up and people focused on that. You've got NFL kicking off here in the United States. And so I would say in general, it's a good time to buy, but we've had some guys that have been pretty strong this summer. Like Austin Matthews would be one who is being named captain of the Leafs, of course, has helped that a little bit and coming off a great season. So yeah, I think you're right. In general, it is a good time to buy because there's just less focus, but that will change, like you said, in the next 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, I had and more hockey cards is mentioning the offseason drama. One of which is the big trade between Columbus and Montreal, sending Patrick Laine to the Montreal Canadiens. And right away, we see his cards starting to sell again, and for a lot more than they were selling before the trade. I had a friend reach out to me, and he said, I think I'm going to start buying Laine. I said, well, you're a little bit too late. You should have been buying him before the trade, because since the trade was made, his cards have like tripled in price. And I'm saying that somewhat speculatively, but that's the feeling I have. You might know better, but I feel like I've heard that somewhere. I've seen that his cards are all of a sudden they're selling, or then they're selling for more than they were, before the trade was announced. And then I went on to say to him, I said, you might have missed the boat on him already, and it's high risk. And I think it's almost all downside risk at this point, because number one, Montreal Canadiens fans they can go a little crazy sometimes. And they're very quick to shift their loyalties. Like Nick Suzuki, maybe their best player, gets very little hobby love anymore. Now it's Caulfield. Well, even his has started to come down. And then they all want Slavkovsky. Well, how long is that going to last once Demidov gets there? So they're all over the place. Now Patrick Laine is there. Are they going to give him love? Probably. But is it like he has to perform to the level that he was expected to after he had those three good seasons with the Jets, and he fell off? He has to regain his top form if the current values are going to maintain.
Jeremy, that was 5 years ago. I mean, that's what I don't get about the whole Laine thing. He hasn't been good in a very, very long time. And not just good. He's had, some personal issues, which God bless him. Hopefully, he got those sorted out. He's had injury issues. He's had leadership issues, right? What we found out this week, issues of character, of desire, of effort. And so now I'm not trying to be like the negative Nancy here. I think it's kind of fun. I love like when the hobby gets excited, right, about a player, but we sort of call him, we've monikered Laine Diet PLD just because, I think it's pretty risky. Well, like you said,
I think it's very risky, but you mentioned his personal issues. So where I am, where I do have hope for him is the fact that him and his girlfriend or fiance, maybe wife now, they are leaning into this mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
They've created some sort of foundation. I'm not exactly sure. He's out there. It seems like he's matured a lot, and he's kind of, taking ownership of who he is and being okay with it. And I really admire that about him. And I think that should work out well for him. I think that, yes, he hasn't been good for 5 years, but I think he's had the talent. The talent just hasn't manifested on the ice because of things going on in here. So if his mental health is vastly improved, which I suspect it is, I hope it is, then I think he could perform to the degree that he performed when he was really good at the beginning of his career. So those 5 years, like you mentioned, may just be, a memory. Now, that's what we hope for. That said, and as More Hockey Card says, he could score 40 plus. He sure could. But is that going to add value to his cards from right now? Or have the Montreal Canadiens fans already built in this 40 goal season value because he got traded to that team, which I believe has some of the most passionate and the craziest fans in the hobby as well. So that's kind of where I just think the risk is downside from a hockey card investing perspective. But if you're just a fan of the Canadiens, I mean, what a great trade that was by them. They gave up nothing. They gave up a role-playing defenseman, and they got Laine, a 2-year deal at $8 million, which is really nothing for them. And they got a draft pick as well, I believe. So I think they killed that trade in a really good way. So
yeah, and when I kind of give my opinion, it's sort of the analytical side of me. I'm always very vocal. I root for every player. Like I literally want every card to go up and every player to do well. So there's not a bone in my body that roots against somebody. And so I definitely hope that, he's able to turn it around and reach his potential too. Cause that's what everybody wants to do in life, right? Is reach your potential.
Yeah. Well said. Good evening to Doghouse Hockey. What's going on? Laura is here. Hello, Laura. Good evening. as always. CC wants to know, Josh, what is the significance of the logo on your cap?
Oh, it's for a movie called The Late Game that is about a beer league hockey team on Amazon. And we had the creators of the movie on our show. And as a thank you, they sent the hat. And I don't know, I just kind of like it. It's got Vikings colors. So me being in Minnesota, that works for it there. So yeah, go check out The Late Game on Amazon.
More Hockey Card says McGroarty to the Penguins for, and that was for a player named Yeager who went back to Winnipeg. And I got to admit, I didn't know much about McGroarty until I was talking to a buddy of mine in Winnipeg the other night, and he said, "Yeah, the Jets traded McGroarty." I said, "I'm surprised you're even telling me this. Like, is he like, I wasn't too familiar with him, but did he captain Team USA to World Championship gold this year? I feel like he did, and now I think he was he a 14th overall pick, and Yeager I think was right in there too. So maybe it's a good trade, maybe a good change of scenery for both these young guys. I don't know much about either player, but we'll see how that goes. Lantern Card says, had a line on my eBay for 4 months with a fairly high buy now, sat with no offers for 4 months. As soon as the trade went through, it was instantly sold. And that's what I'm talking about, right? We are definitely seeing that. You'd hope he would go into the season with the everyone doubts me mindset. Yeah, I think he could have a monster year. He could have. I'm not so concerned about what I do with him hockey card wise. It's more like fantasy hockey wise. Am I going to pick him in my pool this year? One of my
pools? You know the trade I would have actually loved a lot better for them. And I read a little bit that they were in the mix for Yaroslav Askarov, who of course was the Predators' young prospect who became expendable once they signed UC Saros to that 8-year deal. And Askarov made it be known he wasn't so keen to play in the AHL anymore, but had the Canadian, but he was really good in the AHL last year, and he's only 22 years old. Now, had the Canadiens landed him and locked up a young goaltender, presumably of the future, I think the Habs fans would have really went bananas then.
Oh yeah, that would be a nice transition. I mean, the Habs have always had great goaltending for the most part, and Carey Price has had his issues for sure. And who's their goalie now? Is it Montembeault or Jake Allen? Like, I don't even know who their starting goal, but it doesn't sound to me like they have a bona fide starting goaltender there anymore. And Askarov would have certainly been that guy for many years. And then you would have had that transition. You go through their historical goaltenders of, you go back to Plante and Dryden and Patrick Waugh and Carey Price. Maybe Askarov could have been that next one, the first non-Canadian on that list, but still would have been great. And Laura calls out the steal from the Oilers to the Blues, the offer sheets that were tendered by St. Louis to Broberg and Holloway. Which the Oilers did not counter or did not match, and those two players went off to the St. Louis Blues. I don't think that's going to hurt the Oilers, to be honest, at all. I think Broberg is, what is he, a fourth defenseman at best, and Holloway really wasn't that much until he went on a little run there last season, I believe. So I think he was helpful in the playoffs. I don't think that's going to hurt them, and they had some nice pickups as well. So. But yeah, it's an interesting offseason. I think that now, if you're looking to buy, if you like to buy cards for value, and I mean, like, I'm not talking about just to flip, let's say, I'm talking about if you like to buy cards at a good price, just, as they say, a lot of time in a lot of businesses, the money is made on the buy, and if you can buy well, I think for hockey, now might be a good time to buy not all players, but some. And I don't even know which ones I would say are good or bad, but some like Jason Robertson, for example, Josh, on the Dallas Stars, like he had a great year 2 years ago. Last year, a little bit disappointing, but he's still a great player. Maybe now's the best time to be buying his cards. It's not the best time to buy Laine or Askarov probably, but it maybe is a really good time to buy Jason Robertson. Maybe, I don't know, Brock Faber probably doesn't fit in there. He came off such a great year, and I'm just picking players at random here. But I mean, there's maybe Nico Hischier on New Jersey, because they're going to have a great year next year. They should be playoff bound. So A couple more comments here, guys. Then we'll start looking at the cards. Doghouse says, Askarov to a non-hobby market, or does his card go up in value in anticipation of Celebrini being somewhat big and Askarov probably being the number one goalie? I think it's the latter there, Josh and Doghouse. I think that when you add a player like Celebrini to your team, even in a non-traditional market like San Jose isn't the most non-traditional. I think they have a strong fan base. Obviously, it's not, they're not the San Francisco Giants or the 49ers, but they are, San Jose's been there for over 30 years now. And I think that, adding a Celebrini and having a good goaltender to go along with it, along with some of their other prospects, I could see that being something. I could see there being some love heading their way. Stutzla is interesting, says more hockey cards, please. Yeah, I mean, and if you listen to the Gong Show, and Phil, I mean, Stutzla's he's the future there, as you know. And by the way, on your Mount Rushmore of Ottawa Senators, I was I think you guys nailed it. I'm with Phil. With Phil, I'm glad you didn't put Heatley on there. The two players that I thought you were going to mention that you didn't, though, were two players that, I mean, these are two of the best of their position of all time. And I'm guessing you didn't mention them because they didn't play there long enough, are Dominic Hasek and Zdeno Chara. Did you consider them? Like, did they even enter your mind?
Yeah. Well, first of all, when we decided to do this whole it's a hobby Mount Rushmore. So it includes both on-ice performance, meaning to the franchise city, NHL legacy, and then, of course, hobby relevancy. And Hasek is very hobby relevant. But we kind of limited to performance to that team.
Okay.
So not look at their overall career, but what did they do on that team? And that's why we kind of limited to the guys that we did, where tomorrow we are doing the Buffalo Sabres hobby Mount Rushmore, and a much different story from a Dominic Hasek perspective.
Oh, good. So it's nice to know that Hasek isn't being ignored altogether. And I think it makes sense that it's what did they do for those teams? Like, that makes sense to me, So, and they didn't play too long there, but no, I thought you guys did well with that. And I've been enjoying those Mount Rushmore pieces so far. Guys, if you are bidding on anything in the Fanatics weekly auction tonight, I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. And I would just ask if you would like to support the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel, that you click on that link when you go to the platform on Fanatics Collect to make a bid. And if you've won an item and you didn't use that link, you can use that link before you go pay for that item. Won't cost you anything extra. That money will actually just come out of Fanatics commission, and a piece of it will come over to Sports Cards Live. And always grateful for all of your support along the way. All right. And I wanted to, this looks important from Hobby Champs. He says he's not bidding on anything this week because his Fanatics Collect app won't load more than 60 cards at a time, and there is no next page button, so it just stops and he can't see more cards. So that might be a glitch, one that I've only heard of for the first time right here, right now from Hobby Champs. So thanks for bringing it to our attention. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do from here with that, Hobby Champs. But I do hope that if that is a glitch on the app, that Fanatics Collect is aware of it and fixes it as soon as possible for everybody's benefit, the consigners, the bidders, of course, and hopefully that does correct. But thank you for bringing that to our attention, Hobby Champs. And I agree with more hockey cards. I think this could be a year where the Senators break out. I see the Senators and the New Jersey Devils having nice seasons this year, especially the Devils with Markstrom in net, our old goalie in Calgary. They got him, and I think that's a great pickup for them. So excited for that. All right, Josh, you ready to look at some cards?
Do it.
All right, so I'm going to resort these to earliest year, actually. So let me just get that sorted. Earliest year. So we'll start with some of the old ones. We got some Gretzky's. We got some. Actually, this first card right here is pretty nice. Tony Esposito's O-Pee-Chee rookie in a PSA 9. I mean, that's a nice grade for this card. PSA 9. Let's open the image itself. take a little bit of a zoom out, actually centering. It's harder to gauge the centering side to side on this card because of that angle that this stick element is on. I do love this design. Top to bottom looks to be almost bang on, maybe a little bit high. And left to right, I would assess the left to right centering on this card, Josh, by measuring the distance between, the width of this border here between the black line and the edge of the card against this little section right here, where the stick coming up the side is furthermost to the right. So right here, the gap between right here, to me, that's the border. You can't do anything here. And maybe this bit right there, although that might be in a little bit more to the left. So I would be assessing it. How far is this stick off from the edge of the card versus this border over here? And it might be sitting a little bit to the left and a little bit high, but it's really hard to notice that. It looks like the eye appeal from a centering perspective looks really strong from right over here, in my opinion, Josh. Otherwise, edges and corners look very, very nice. This top right corner might be just sub-optimal, but still really strong. I love the edges. The bottom corners are great. This bottom right corner, it might look like it's not perfect, but I think it is. And I just say that because I've seen these cards, and oftentimes you'll see a little bit of blue leaking through to the front. I'm seeing a little bit of that here, but it's minor, and it doesn't bother me personally. Bit of a fisheye right there on the stick. No big deal, though. And then I'm seeing this little, I don't know what this is here. What is this little, is that something, a scratch on the slab? Is that a scratch on the card? I don't know what that is, so something to be aware of at least. Overall, a very nice card, and it's. I'm not sure what the population is, but I know that PSA 9 is tough for these 69 O-Pee-Chees, and I actually I'm curious what the population is now. Josh,
89.
Say again.
89.
And how many do you have the total? Do you have how many higher and how many total subs?
978 total subs. 2 higher.
So about 8.5% or so of a mint rate or a mint plus rate. How many higher did you say?
2
PSA 10s and 89 PSA 9s. So yeah, this is basically the highest graded card, the highest grade available in this card, unless you think you're going to find one of those 2 PSA 10s, which are probably locked up for a long time. Okay, we also have a 1971 Topps Ken Dryden rookie. So note he does have the O-Pee-Chee card as well, which is generally preferred. But boy, look at this thing. This, outside of the being off center to the right, this card, look at the color. I'm seeing no print defect at all. No PD, as we say in the business. No PD on this card at all. This is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Now, Topps was produced at a higher quality than O-Pee-Chee was, so we'd expect it to be beautiful. Outside of that, that centering shift to the right, maybe a little bit high as well. This is a gorgeous copy. It is graded an 8. I think that's bang on. This card would get would get my blessing if it was a card you were interested in. And then we have, what do we have? 1, 2, 5 Gretzky rookies. Josh, before we get into the Gretzkys, I'd love to hear some thoughts from you on the Esposito and the Dryden.
Esposito is a very cool card. Last sale on a PSA 9 is about $1,600. So pretty good value right now. The label looks ancient. That's got to be a very early PSA label, right?
It is very early. I don't think it's the earliest, but it's definitely early. Yeah, that's going to be from the 90s for sure.
Here's my thought on the Dryden too. We've talked a lot over the last few months about eye appeal. I think this card has great eye appeal. And if you're in the game of a O-Pee-Chee PSA 10, your last sale of that was about $22,000. Last sale of a Topps SGC 8 was $250. And so, when you think of owning a Dryden rookie, I get it. It's not O-Pee-Chee. It's not PSA 10, but a card that's this beautiful with this grade of eye appeal for roughly right now, $300 compared to what some other nice copies of his cards cost. I think that's a really smart kind of buy as a collector.
I think it's a collector card. I agree. I agree. Larry's Classic brings up a comment. He says, if the grading standard is the grading standards, why does it seem that OPG gets graded on a curve over tops? That's a great question, Larry. I have a theory. My theory is that I don't understand what you mean by graded on a curve. If what you mean is, allowances given for the rough cut, that's a different thing. I don't consider that a curve. I just consider that an exception to the grading standard. If we're on the same page there, Larry, I think we are. I hope we are. My other response is that, well, when it comes to Gretzky rookies and even, especially Gretzky OPG rookies, I don't want to accuse PSA of pop control, but I'm basically doing that. I'm basically doing that because I've just seen so many off-graded OPG Gretzky rookies and cards, whether they're controlling, it's somewhat evident that they control the PSA 10 pop for Gretzky rookies, both tops and OPG, being that there's only 2 of each. But are they controlling the 9 as well? And are they controlling the 8 as well? I feel like they are, but who knows for sure? Who knows for sure? Except for those people on the inside. But that's my response. That's where my mind goes to Larry's comment here, is in both of those directions. What's up, Justin Bode? Welcome to the show, buddy. All right, Josh, you ready to look at some Gretzky's?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to just open up all these images. We got the tops, BGS 6.5. We have the tops, PSA 4. We have the tops, PSA 5. We have the tops, PSA 6 miscut. And finally, the tops, SGC 6.5. So not a single OPG Gretzky in the auction today, which maybe, if anyone had that sitting in their Fanatics Collect vault, they might have won. Too bad they couldn't be the only OPG tonight. But in any event, top 6.5 right here. It's off-centered. Otherwise, it looks very nice. Maybe a few little white dots on the corners, but very nice. I'm just going to run through them quick here. Here's the tops 4. Right away, I prefer this to the BGS 6.5. I mean, just from a centering perspective, obviously, it's not perfect in every way. It's got a little bit of stock showing on the both right corners. Maybe a couple of white snow flakes showing here and there, snow spots. Here's the tops 5, off-centered, of course. Here's the 6 miscut. So this is OC on the front. It's interesting to know a little bit of information, and I haven't looked at the back of this card, but I'm going to put what I understand about PSA to the test here. My understanding is that if the front here, this is simply an OC card on the front. It's off center. It's only miscut if there's part of the next card showing, and there is not part of the next card showing, and none of this card is missing because you get this whole border down the side. So I'm speculating that the back of this card, that skate on the back is partially touching or off the edge. So we got to go open up the back of this one now. That is the 6OC or 6MC. So let's open up the listing and have a look at the back image. And yes, you can see right here that the top of the skate is basically touching the edge of the card. This is why the card has the MC qualifier, not the front. The front is OC. The back is MC, but overall it gets MC. And you can see something coming up right over here on the left. That's from the next card on the sheet. That's part of the MC, and maybe a more important part than what I pointed out originally up over here. So this card, MC is a more egregious qualifier than OC, but it's only on the front, on the back of the card. And I think that would help the card a little bit, despite the fact that it's pretty bad on the front too. I mean, that's about as OC as you can get without being MC, if that makes sense. So this to me is a very weak copy. I would value this somewhere around whatever a 4, maybe even a 3.5 would sell for. This top 6.5, I mean, it's got tilt, it's off center. makes you dizzy looking at it. And I guess that's the last one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for me, the only card here I would consider welcoming to my PC is the lowest graded one, is this 4. This is the only one I would consider adding to my PC. But not everybody likes centering and places as much importance on centering as everybody as other people do. So perhaps you can get into one of these cheaper off-center 6-ish cards, Topps Gretzky rookies, and save yourself some money. And I'll be curious to see if the O-Pee-Chee 4 sells for more than these off-centered copies. But it doesn't look like it. Well, right now it's okay. So it's more than the 6MC, which makes good sense, which should sell for even less than a 4 would, which it is right now. So that makes sense to me. But this 6.5 that's off-centered, let's have a look at that one more time. Yeah, it's got slight clockwise tilt, super off-center, but otherwise it's very nice. Corners and edges. So if that's what's important to you, then that maybe is a worthy purchase at $9.25. But for me, I'd rather have this 4 and keep the rest of the money. Josh, kind of jumping around between these 5 cards, but what are your thoughts, if any, on this grouping of Topps Gretzky rookie cards? Oh, and before you jump in, I want to say I certainly agree with this eye appeal designation from Fanatics Collect in the top 15% for this 4. Mm-hmm. This 4 is spectacular for a 4, guys. Like, if you have been waiting for a Topps Gretzky rookie and you don't want to spend 7, 8, 9 money, this 4 is as nice as probably any 7 you will find. So snag this. This card would receive my highest recommendation. I got to just put that out there. Josh, over to you.
I'm all about the 4 too. I couldn't agree with you more. I was just thinking, like, if I had all the money in the world, I think a fun experiment would have been to buy these 5 cards, crack them, put them in front of you raw, and say, order these in order of which you would pay most for to least for. And I wonder how that order would compare to the grades.
Yeah. Well, I think the 4, I think this would be at the top of everybody's list. I mean, let's just have a quick look and see if there's anything crazy going on the back of this. I mean, there could be wrinkles. There could be a wrinkle we can't see. That's definitely a possibility. You know, the corners, they're not perfect. They have some fray, but like, that's where I'm okay with my card not being perfect is the corner. I mean, it's hard to tell if there's any creases or wrinkles. Probably no creases. There could be wrinkle. And to me, the only difference in a wrinkle and a crease is like a wrinkle is usually only evident on one side of the card, where a crease is on both sides. It's a more severe wrinkle in my mind, but I'm not seeing anything that tells me that there's any of that going on here. You know, it's not a perfect card. I don't know what that little blemish is right there. There's something going on right there, but that's not a big deal. That doesn't bother me.
That could be on the holder too. You don't know.
Could be on the holder too. That's a risk I'd be willing to take. This bottom corner, you know, it's definitely got some cardstock showing, and so does this top corner. But it's a 4. Like, so maybe it wouldn't look as nice as any 7 because of those corners, but probably any 6 and 6.5. It still gets my highest recommendation.
Do you think if you bought this card, whatever, and cracked it and took it to a card show, that you could get more raw than what you paid for it as a 4 graded?
I don't want to say for sure, but I would think there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance you could.
Yeah, and I'm not. My intention there is just, again, to beat a dead horse and to stress how important eye appeal is over grade when it comes to vintage cards.
Josh, yeah, I mean, listen, out of the blue, I went through this personally on Friday. I walked into my LCS and bought a card off the shelf, and it's a vintage card, super low grade, super high eye appeal. And it's sent me on this whole weird headspace issue where I'm kind of considering some of my approaches in the hobby. And, but But you know what's cool for me, Josh, is that this card that I just bought on Friday is my new favorite card in my whole collection. I've been collecting. I now have a new favorite card in my whole card collection, and it's a PSA 1, believe it or not. Of all my cards, it's my favorite.
Well, I feel like I've gone through a similar evolution too, because I look at like 2 years ago, if I was in the market for a Topps Gretzky rookie, I would have bought the SGC 6.5 because it's the highest grade.
Right.
Today, I'd buy the PSA 4 100 times out of 100.
Easy and easy. And right now, you would save 925. You'd save 300 plus juice, but we will see where these all end.
Sure.
And then these off-centered copies. I mean, unless I was okay having I once had a PSA 8 MC O-Pee-Chee Gretzky rookie. I had it for a long time. It was beautiful, except for the centering. It was only MC on the back. It was OC on the front, just like this one here, just like this one right over here. And I remember the guy that bought it from me loved it. And I was so happy that it went into a good, loving home because I loved the card, even though it was way off center. And on the back, it was off center on the back and even worse on the front. It was off center on the front and even worse on the back. And I was just happy it went to a collection that was going to love the card. And so, for you and me, Josh, yeah, we're all about a well-centered card, but not everybody is. And I think that's great that there will be homes for these cards. I mean, there's 20 bids on this one, 15 on this one, 19 on this one, and 27 on this one. And they're all off-centered. And 28 on what I think is the best copy of all. And will it be the cheapest one? I don't know. We'll see what happens at the 6MC here, if that's going to be it. But it'll be interesting to see at the end, Josh, where they land. And then your experiment would be really interesting to run as well. Justin Bode says, with Gretzky's, don't forget they trim/alter them the most, so still be careful when buying raw. Yeah, that's a good point. That's to your comment, Josh, about buying a raw card. Could you get more for it? So Lauren is congratulating me on my pickup, so she saw it on Instagram. Thank you, Lauren. I'm beside myself, but Jacob Dahl didn't see it, so I'll show you guys what I bought here. Josh, I'm just going to spotlight myself for a moment. So this is my new favorite card in my whole collection, guys. It's a PSA 1, and it's 1933 Babe Ruth. But this card shows like, I don't know, PSA 7 maybe? That's the front. There's the back. Nothing glaring, no paper loss. Like, I don't know why it's a 1. Well, there are a few wrinkles coming down, coming like right down there, but like I can't even see them looking at the card straight on. I need to search for them. So they're basically not even there. I slept with this card last night, you guys. Literally slept with the card. I'm just like, I am so happy with that. It's my favorite card, my whole card. It might be the favorite card I've ever owned. And that's brought me to this weird place. Like, well, how can anything else compare now? How do I move forward from here? Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jake. Thank you, More Hockey. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
Did you see his jersey sale?
24 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Crazy. But very cool too. Very cool. The professor wants to know which Edmonton LCS had your Babe Ruth guy. I don't live in Edmonton, Professor. I live in Calgary. I bought the card at East Ridge Hobbies. Mike from East Ridge. The card walked in. And here's another cool little piece of this, and then we'll get back to the cards tonight. But somebody walked in off the street with that card and a 51 Mantle, an 86 Michael Jordan, and a 66 Bobby Orr rookie, maybe some others. Brought them in. Mike actually called me and said, hey, can you come look at these? I want to make sure they're real. So I went and looked at the cards, and they were raw. So I actually I didn't even realize this when I bought this. Like, I didn't put two and two together, but I actually got to like hold this card raw before it got graded. Now I own it, even though I didn't own it when I held it raw, which is kind of cool. So that was a nice little twist as well. But Mike had them all authenticated, and it was just graded like last month by PSA. Thank you, Sundin. Loves that Ruth card is art. Thank you, Professor. I knew you knew where I was. Todd, thank you, man. I agree. And More Hockey Cards says, hopefully they weren't the Dallas Thieves cards. Yeah, I mean, if they made their way to into Canada, that would be a terrible thing for me for sure right now. I certainly hope it isn't a Dallas Thieves card, but hopefully it isn't. I didn't even think of that. And then finally, Doghouse says, I felt very similar when I got my Korea Grail card. Didn't know where to go next. Then I found a beautiful Hank Aaron card that I couldn't stop thinking about. Sometimes the answer is in other sports. All right. Good comments. All right, Josh, let's keep on going. We have an 85 O-Pee-Chee Mario Lemieux rookie SGC 8.5. Great looking copy here, guys. I want to say slight tilt, but maybe not. The rough edge on the top is pretty easy to see here in this dark background and the dark frame in the SGC slab. But outside of that, I mean, the registration looks really good. It's a very nice, clean copy outside of the rough cut on top, which against this black background does pop on you, but just kind of normal anyway for the issue. Josh, any thoughts on the Lemieux?
I think we just had a very similar thought. SGC slabs from just a visual pleasant perspective are hit or miss for me, but I think this is a card that really pops in that holder.
Yeah, definitely is. I think it does too. 1992 Parkhurst Emerald Ice Wayne Gretzky PSA 4. And okay, it's a $5 one bid. Jeremy, why did you pick this card? Well, because I have a little, to reminisce, guys. When this set first came out in 91, 92, 92, 93, I remember going, I don't even remember what this LCS was called. It was in Winnipeg on Pembina Highway. I remember going in there and buying as many packs of this as I could because I was building the Emerald set, the Emerald Ice set. And I think I had it done back in the day. I had it in a binder, and when I was downsizing my, sets and stuff several years ago, I got rid of it. And now I kind of regret not having that set. Whatever it's worth, $100 for the set. It's like not worth anything, but it's one of those things, and it just brings back great memories because these Emerald cards were basically one Emerald per pack. And back then, that was a tough set because instead of getting 13 cards in a pack, you got one of these. And the only difference was that this Parkhurst logo was an emerald foil versus regular card, just the regular print. So kind of cool for me to see these. You don't see them very often. They're not very popular or valuable, but very a cool card for me. You have any memories like that, Josh? Cards that you remember as a kid that are just not important anymore, but nostalgic for you?
Yeah, I feel that way about the 1890 Pro set Wayne Gretzky. I opened up for whatever reason, there was a gas station a couple blocks from my house that had tons of Pro Set, and I would always go there and buy packs, and that was the card I was always chasing. So totally love the fact that you brought that up. There are, we get infatuated by dollar figures a lot in this hobby, and sometimes, you remember that these cards can take you back to a moment in your life. Like when I think about you asking me the question, I think about that Gretzky Pro Set, and I'm walking into that gas station as a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, exactly. And one more comment on the Babe Ruth and just those Dallas cards. So Mike, who runs the store where I bought this card from, he told me that because he wasn't sure if the cards were real, that he had a deal with the guy who sold them to him that they would kind of share some of the downside and upside risk on the card. So I don't think that if a thief is selling a card to an LCS that they're going to prolong that relationship. You know what I mean? So I'm not concerned about that at all, which I'm glad because it did scare me a little bit for a second there. That would be horrible. Okay, continuing on. A couple of 98 Gretzky SB Authentic sign of the time autos. One of them is a dual 10-10. That's this one here. It's got 10 on the auto, 10 on the card. Whereas this copy here is authentic on the card and 10 on the auto. Let's take a look at these. And, they're both 10 autos. Let's see how similar are these autographs. I'm just going to close a bunch of these windows. Okay. So here's the 10-10. There's the auto. Auto looks nice. And here's the authentic 10. Auto looks nice as well. It's a little bit, it's weaker, right? I'm noticing, but it's hard to tell here, Josh. You've got these gray dots in the background that could kind of throw off what you're seeing, especially if they come through the ink, which they seem to over here. I'd say this copy is a little bit faded, the autograph, whereas this one is pretty solid all the way through. Lighter and darker in parts, but that just might be the pressure applied when the autograph was signed. I think it's a beautiful autograph right there. This one is very nice as well, but I'd say a bit lower quality than this one. And then the condition of the card, tough to really tell with these cards, but basically $1,000 more on this one because it has the Gem Mint 10 grade on the card. Let's just have a look at the authentic card and see, this could be a PSA 10. If it was graded, we don't know why they chose to go authentic on it. But I mean, I'm looking at this thing and I see no corner or edge issues. It's harder to assess that because they are white edges and corners for the most part. Card looks great to me, Josh. I mean, I'm seeing really no issues. Left corner might have a bit of fray. Do we have any fray here? No, this image is a tad more blurry as well. Well, that might just be the PSA holder. It does, to me, there doesn't seem to be any difference between these two cards in terms of the cards themselves, but you can save $1,000 if you want to buy this one over that one. And I do think that the more expensive copy does have a slightly nicer auto. Is it $1,000 nicer? And which is actually more like, $1,250 nicer right now? Probably not to me, Josh. Were you able to pick anything up from looking at those two?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this because I actually think that, well, at some point we're going to do a whole thing on our show on Gretzky autos because the whole concept has perplexed me for a long time. There's just so many, and it's been very hard for me to differentiate between, what's a good Gretzky auto, a lasting Gretzky auto, one that will stand the test of time. And to me, I think this is one of those that could fit that bill. And especially if you're looking at trying to collect the best of the best. And sure, I'm talking on both sides of my mouth here a little bit now, falling into the whole grading trap. But to have the 10-10 grade, it's a very early Gretzky pack pulled auto, right? There's Be a Player in 1995. There's some SPX in 1996. The first Sign of the Times was 1997, and then you have this one in 1998. It's during his career when he was playing, which I think could be a differentiator down the road. And to me, this could be a really special card. The tricky part about it is I think maybe flaw is the right word. I'm not sure. In the PSA population reports, where there's no way to tell how many card grade 10s, auto grade 10 cards there are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think, like, we looked it up on our show that the pop, there's something like 10, if I remember correctly. But of those 10, who knows how many are, have that auto grade 10 as well. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of this card. And I actually think, as far as Gretzky autos go, like, this is one that I would be really interested in. I think the only thing you'd have to consider is what uniform you prefer his autos in.
Yeah, this is such a beautiful Rangers uniform as well. It's got the Statue of Liberty logo on the front. To me, that's the best Rangers jersey ever right there. I love it. So this, to me, has that going for it. So yeah, it's a great card, as you mentioned. An early playing days auto, not early, late for him, but early for auto cards. And he only played till 99, so it's a cool card for sure. And I'm noticing a bit of a color difference. This one, the 10-10, seems to have a little bit of a pink hue to it, where this one is much whiter. I'll go to the big pictures. You compare this to that. This one seems a little bit whiter to me than this one. I'm not sure what that means or what that is, but there's a different maybe it's just the way the picture was taken. This copy, the authentic, seems brighter. This one seems darker, just not as happy. This one seems more subdued. This one's just coming out of a party, like it's in a great mood. kind of how I'm looking at it. All right.
I think I would be very happy with either one of them tonight.
Yeah, and this one you're getting so much cheaper. This to me is like the value buy, and this is the flex buy.
Yeah, that's a good way to
you
put
want
it.
a flex? This is your card. You want a value buy and flex your value buy? This is your card. Either way, you can win when it comes to showing off your new card. 1999 SP Authentic buyback of a 91 Upper Deck base card, autographed by Wayne Gretzky, numbered out of 500. We've seen a couple of these lately. It's a cool card. I mean, these cards were kind of mind-blowing when they first came in with the triple exposure. Nice autograph here. Hard to believe he sat there and signed this 500 times, but I guess he did. Nice looking card. Nice looking card overall. How do you like the card, Josh?
I like it a lot. It brings you back to nostalgia. It's kind of that cool aspect of adding the auto as well. My dog is going crazy. Sorry about that. And so for that reason, the one thing though that I think about, I've gotten really interested in these cards, but you have to be really careful. And not in this one because it's an SP Authentic buyback, but there is a number of these early 90s cards that have been autographed by Gretzky. There's one where like Ken Golden's dad's company, the Scoreboard, did a number of them. And so that's my one piece there is make sure you do your research, make sure you know that it's a authenticated autograph, and preferably I think by Upper Deck.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah, for sure. Jeff McMahon can't wait for the Red Wings Mount Rushmore episode. He's calling out Hal Yzerman, Sawchuk. Who is number 4? I mean, it's definitely Hal Yzerman. Sawchuk, yeah, probably. Lidstrom's got it. Who misses? Does Fedorov miss? Yeah, some great players have gone through there. No doubt. Yeah, more hockey cards says Lidstrom probably. Doghouse says I would think any Gretzky auto from his playing days versus more modern stuff would hold a premium. Thoughts? Not necessarily. It comes down to there's more at play there, Dog. I think you're talking things like print run, brand as well, and then does it come with a patch? Of course, is another level. Bill Webo2 loves the Gretzky auto. Last playing year, sign of the times, Liberty jersey. So awesome. I'm with you. And Justin Bode shares a memory when he was opening the top of a 91-92 Upper Deck hockey pack, and the small of the cards. The smell still remembers the smell of the cards. It's my mom's car right after leaving the card shop. Good memory, Justin. All right. Ray Bork, 2001 Upper Deck Premier Collection autograph, PSA 10, Pop 3. I used to own this card. I did this whole set back when it first came out in 01, 02, 03. Loved these. These were some of the first pack pulled like autos where you had a wide set. I loved it. We have the McDonald's Crosby rookie in an CSG 10. And we have the Gordie Howe Exquisite flashback patch auto at a 25 in a BGS 8.5 holder. Pop of 5-6 graded higher, sitting at $1,775. Josh, any quick thoughts on these? I'd like to try and get to the bottom of this page in the next 5 minutes. So, any quick thoughts on this?
I really like the McDonald's Sidney Crosby, and I think it's just because I'm an American and it's such a novelty to us. I'm sure that it's pretty ho-hum for you Canadians, but the fact that McDonald's had hockey cards before Tim Hortons is kind of interesting. And so someday I think I'll pick up that card just for this card for that novelty reason. And then the Gordie Howe is probably the card of the auction in my mind. It's such an amazing card where you can get that game used piece of his jersey, of course, and then a on-card auto within that very iconic, exquisite design. It pretty much has everything going for it.
It's a great card for sure. I'm a big fan of it, and I'm curious to see what it sells for. $1,775 right now, not too bad of a price, I would say, actually. And Larry here says, what is the 2001 Bork auto in this Boston uniform? Considered a post-career card? What do you mean? He was playing in 01. I think that was his last season. So, but I think the way Larry, the way I would call it, if it was post-career, like just post, I think the common terminology now is post-playing days. That's what I see. Yeah. He won it with the Avs in 01. Exactly. He won the Stanley Cup with the Avs in 01. So this is an 01 card. This is an 01-02 card. So it's the same calendar year, Larry. Maybe you're right. It's a small nuance there. Same calendar year, but a different hockey season year. Perhaps that's the thing there.
Well, one more really quick note on the how, which I just think is very fascinating about this card is, of course, and I know you know this, but technically it's a basketball card.
Oh, it came out of a basketball pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that's interesting. Technically, it's a basketball card. Does that is it is that right? Are you sure? Technically, is it a basketball
Well, it came
card?
out of a basketball set. So, and I know that there was football players in there as well as basketball players, right? There was 6 hockey players in that set.
Does that make it a basketball card though? It's interesting. I don't know. To me, I don't see it that way, but I'm not. You could convince me, possibly. It's an interesting thing. It's there's nothing basketball about it except that it came out of a basketball pack or a box or whatever. It doesn't even have. You know what, Josh? I don't know that I was looking at the back. And it doesn't say anything. Even it's got NHLPA, NHL, Detroit. It doesn't even say 910 Exquisite basketball. It just says 910 Exquisite. So to me, it's not technically a basketball card. It's a hockey card that came out of a basketball product. I see a distinction there. Do you?
Yeah, I think I can buy both arguments, but the biggest practical thing to know is you could spend hours trying to find this card on a checklist, and you have to know that it's on the 2009 Exquisite basketball checklist.
Wait a second. More Hockey Cards says there is a basketball logo on it. What did I... NHLPA, NHL. Oh, the NBA right there. There it is. Yes, it is. It has the NBA logo, man, right there. But does that it still has the NHL. It has more hockey licensor logos than it has basketball. So to me, that's like the tiebreaker in a way, is that it's 2-1 hockey licensor logos over basketball. But that's cool. That I'm glad it has that there. That's how we can remember, Josh, down the road. Because down the road, people are like, why is there the NBA logo man on there? Well, that's why. Yes, it does. Thank you, guys. I think it's a great card anyway. However we categorize it. All right. Dual patches of Crosby and Marc-Andre Fleury out of 25 from Ultimate. This card is raw in an NBA authenticated top loader. Nice card. Nice patches right there. Both two Crosbys, 2 Fleury patches. Just a nice raw card. I'm a collector that I love patch cards, and my patch cards don't always need autos, but I don't like to collect. It's not that I don't like it. I don't collect many autograph cards that don't have patches. And come to think of it, outside of some cards in a player collection I don't think I have a single card that is just an autograph without a patch. So I love patches with autos. I love patches without autos, but I don't love autos without patches unless it's for my Dale Hawerchuk collection. Not even my Solani collection, I think, has any of those. How does that make you feel, Josh? How do you respond to that kind of approach or type of way of collecting?
I think you found your groove, and that's awesome. I actually really like this card, and to me, it's about the pairing. We have Flower, who this will be his last year, and he's moved on to many teams, of course, since he played and won cups with Pittsburgh. And I just think that this card won't sell for a lot, but it's an amazing card with a really interesting pairing of 2 guys that at a time in that franchise's history helped them, win multiple Stanley Cups. So I think it's a very cool card.
It is. It is. It's nice. I love Ultimate. They make beautiful cards in the Ultimate brand. All right. Fleer Retro Jambalaya from 2012, Bobby Orr, BGS 8.5 at $170. Pretty good for a Jambalaya. Bobby Orr, I believe it's his first Jambalaya. I don't think he had a Jambalaya or did he? Maybe he did have one in the 08 EX set. Maybe he did. in any event, nice Bobby Orr Jambalaya here, and a Alexander Barkov Prism rookie card, PSA 10, the silver Prism, pop 8 only. That's a decent Barkov card, $130 right there. All right, the McDavid Young Gun BGS 10 has sold now for $3,960. We have a PSA 10 Matthews Young Gun at 8 1/4 and an Ilya Sorokin Seismic Gold rookie at a 50 at only $76. Pop 5. It's a PSA 9. Value buy here, guys. If you collect Seismic Golds, if you're an Islander fan or a Sorokin fan, this is a rookie card in my mind, and it's out of 50, and it's only at $76. I think that's a good deal right now. What do you think, Josh? Am I missing something there?
He just had a little bit of a down year last year, and so if you think he'll bounce back and play well, it's a Seismic Gold. It's his rookie. It's a great card. The card looks fantastic. Love his pads, all the puck marks on him. I think that's just a great feature of this card. It's a great image of Sorokin. And yeah, it's a steal in my opinion right now.
Yeah, I didn't use this steal word, but I could have. I wasn't sure if I was missing something. All right. This Deep Cuts Timu Solani out of 35 that I probably should have bought, sold for $15.60. And then we've got a couple of BGS 9.5 Connor Bedard Young Guns. We're at $460 on this one, $390 on that one. I'm guessing there's a subgrade difference here. This is a True Gem plus on the centering, and this is just a True Gem. So it seems like that extra half point on centering has earned this copy, and so far an extra $70. And if we were to inspect those cards and see how that centering is it really that different? And I'm going to say that the centering is exactly the same. Like, one, two, I'm counting these little dots here. Right there. I mean, yeah, the centering's the same. Like that. But that's fine. That's fine. That's how it goes. To me, there's no difference there. But anyway, 460 and now 410 on this one. Very nice to see. And then we have 3 PSA 10s right here. They have all been sold from $960 to $1,020. That's been pretty consistent lately, Josh, here on the PWCC platform. Yep. And a PSA 9 does $312. I don't know what the raw ones are going for, but I can't imagine they're going for less than this, although maybe they are. I haven't been following and, it shows or anything, but there we have it. So cards that have sold, we've seen a bunch of them now. Let's see what sold up above. The Crosby McDonald's rookie sold for $50. Those are all going $6, $11.10 on the SGC 6.5 Gretzky, $5.52 on the 6 miscut, a $10.50 on the PSA 5 that's off-centered, and $6.50 on our favorite copy right here, $1,020 on the BGS 6.5. So the 6.5 BGS sells for less than the PSA 5, $1,050 here, $1,020 there. The miscut gets $550. Nice to see that came in low. The SGC 6.5 outsells both of the other two, but that, from a grade point, that makes sense. Well, BGS 6.5 does $10.20. SGC does $11.10. So not much of a difference, but the SGC sells for more. And this card here at least is selling for more than the OC or the miscut one. I'd like to see it sell for more than all of these, because to me it's the superior card across the board, but that probably won't happen. Mm-hmm. And the Dryden Topps rookie does $324. And there we have it, guys. Now, what's going on here on this card? If we were to bid $2,100, review and confirm, buyer's premium $2,520. God, I mean, if I just bought that Babe Ruth, so I'm going to leave it. Oh, a bid came in, so it's going into the next level anyway. It's now at $2,100. I didn't bid that. No, we'll clear. Somebody bid it, so that card is encroaching upon 3,000 Canadian dollars now. Okay, let's hit refresh, Josh. Push all the sold cards to the bottom. A couple more might have just sold in that first 5-minute window. So all the Bedards are done for the night. The Matthews PSA 10 sells for $990, $990, which is lower than the PSA, two of these PSA 10 Bedard. So Bedard sells for 1,020, 1,020, 960, and there's more of these out there than Austin Matthews that's at 990. And Austin Matthews was just named captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's commonly considered one of the top 5 players in the NHL, and his card sells for less than Connor Bedard. Just let that sink in. Not a lot less, but less. Thankfully, it sold for more than this one by $30, but it didn't sell for less than these two. Let that sink in, guys. Okay. The Barkov Prism Silver sells for $156. The Bobby Orr Jambalaya $204. The Bork Auto $70. The Gretzky Buyback $372. The Gretzky Sign of the Times Authentic $372.
Wow, that's a good price.
That's cheap. That's cheap. But people get scared by that authentic labeling right there. Oh, more hockey cards. Won the Gretzky 4. Nice. He won the Gretzky 4 for $780, and I could not be prouder of you. More hockey cards, please, for stepping up and buying the nicest Gretzky of the night. The nicest of the night, and you got it for 30% off what these other ones sold for. Well done. Very Great happy buy. For you. His first Gretzky. I could not be prouder of you right now. Way to go. Love it. Oh, the professor picked up the authentic Gretzky Auto. Again, that's a value buy. That you guys are impressing me tonight. I love it. I love that we know you guys are buying them. Congratulations. I think on this professor, smart buy. I mean, just a smart buy. Like such a value buy right there. And the Gretzky 4, that to me is like card of the night sort of thing right there. Yeah. Oh, I'm very happy to see that. All right, what else? What else happened here? These are all okay. So this is the Tony Esposito PSA 9 rookie does 1,080. Josh, what did you say? I thought you said 900 or something we'd seen recently. Do you remember?
1,600.
So this sold at a huge discount.
Great deal.
Huge discount. All right. Let's see. Quick comments here. Laura is congratulating. More hockey cards, please. No doubt. Trevor Coulter, where are the cooches? Hey, Trevor, what's going on, pal? What's going on, Trevor? I've dealt with Trevor a few times. And Trevor, yeah, didn't see. Are there any Kucherovs in the auction tonight? If there are, they weren't cards that hit our radar. So hopefully next week. Which, by the way, guys, we will not be doing the show next week. It's a holiday for Josh, and I'm actually going to be traveling to a family wedding. So. Won't be doing a show. I'm 90% not doing a show next Thursday. There's a slim chance if I do, and if I do, it will likely be without Josh, but I'm probably not going to do it from my my Airbnb. Jeff McMahon is saying, great card, Jeremy. Which one, Jeff? Which card are you referring to? And more hockey cards, please. Says I use the link too, so if it doesn't show up on your end, let me know. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. More hockey cards. Really, 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 really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Josh, let's go back. We're a minute away from this next window opening. I'm gonna hit refresh one more time and let's see how many cards are still alive. So we got the Mario Lemieux SGC 8.5 O-Pee-Chee rookie. We have the Gretzky 1010 Sign of the Times. We have the Gordie Howe Exquisite rookie patch flashback. It's at up to 2,300 now, so it's seen a couple more bids. We have the dual or the quad patch of Crosby and Fleury from Ultimate, the Sorokin Gold Seismic. We have the Bedard BGS 9.5 Young Gun, and that's it. So we are down to these 6 cards, and they need extended, needed, extended. So these 2 cards right here need a bid in the next 21 seconds. So let's sit here and see if they can get bids in the next 16 seconds to get into the next window, or will this be the end of the auction for these 2 cards tonight? We're at $850 on the Mario Lemieux, which is about 1,000, which is I think 1,020 with buyer's premium, and $1,350 on the Gretzky, which is about $1,600. Let's see what happens as it turns over. Let's give it another second to flip for us because those 2 cards did sell. 1,020 on the Lemieux and 1,620 on the Gretzky. So first of all, I think this is a great buy here on the Lemieux for 1,020. The Now I'm just realizing they gave it the superior eye appeal, top 5%. The card I feel has superior eye appeal, Josh. I feel it does, the card, but this top edge, it does impact my eye appeal, the enjoyment of the card. I would rather that all four edges be consistent, but they're not. Does that hurt the eye appeal from your perspective, Josh? Or is it something that you've just become okay with? And I know, like, with some Gretzky rookies I'm okay with, but sometimes it's so bad I'm not okay with it. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think I'm on board with you. I would prefer uniformity. One extra point, though, that I think I can make about this card, and it was very similar to your coverage of the premiere auction the other night, where they had the Gretzky 8.5. I'm really digging this 8.5 grade from a collector standpoint, because you get a very nice card typically with a huge discount off of that 9, and and it can be huge in certain cases. And so I think that for certain cards, it's a grade that I'm going to be targeting a little bit to try to find some high eye appeal value buys.
Yeah, smart. Like that's how you become savvy, is by finding these little niches within a card itself, and where you can sort of exploit it. The other problem I do, like I mentioned some tilt earlier. I feel like I'm seeing some slight tilt, and similar to the way I judge the centering or assess the centering on the 1980-81 Opechian Topps cards, like the Messier rookie, the Bork, and especially on the top corners, you can do the same thing here on the bottom of this Lemieux. I look at the angle between, and if you guys can see my mouse here, and I'll just zoom in a bit, I compare the angle that I see between the corner of the card and the corner of this black border, that angle there versus that angle there. And this angle here on the right, it's flatter. This one is steeper than this one. To me, that's a sign of being off-centered and or having tilt. And it detracts from my eye appeal assessment. The top, you can't tell. You just can't tell because there's no border up here. Same as the bottom right corner on the 80-81 hockey cards. But you can easily see it here on the bottom. And I guess I'm trained for my eye to go there. You know, if you remove the top edge and that centering issue, this card has superior eye appeal, but you can't remove those two things. So I disagree with with giving it top 5%. I don't even know if I'd give it the next level or even the top 30. So yeah, that's just sort of a post auction ending on that card issue, but that's where I stand on it. So I just wanted to share that. What else? Where were we there? That was this one here. I feel like I just refreshed and things got. Oh, the other thing was to look at these two cards here. So for a what's that, a $1,250 difference? You like the professor saved $1,250 by buying this copy versus this copy, and we looked at them. They are virtually the same card, unless there's something we can't see, which is an important thing to mention because there are things we can't see. You know, the auto on this one is stronger, but not by $1,250 in my opinion. Nonetheless, the grade on the label is very important in our hobby. It's given a ton of weight as far as value goes, and in this case, you can see that it's about 5 times it's worth 5 times the value of this copy right here. All right, let's see where we're at now on the clock. 25 seconds, and we only have 4 cards left. And we are going to get an extension on this one here on the Bedard. We're getting an extension on the Gordie Howe, but the dual patch or the quad patch of the dual players and the Sorokin may be over right here in 5 seconds. Let's see if they can get a bid in the next 3, or we're going to be down to the final 2 cards of the night. Looks like those 2 cards are going to be sold right here. Let's let this flip over for us, as it should any moment now. Or did we get bids and I didn't notice them, Josh? Let's hit refresh one more time. Okay, there we are. So they are gone. We're down to these two cards, the Gordy and the BGS 95 Bedard. Everything else that we were watching tonight has now been sold. $120 on the Crosby Fleury Ultimate Dual Player Quad Patch card. Great card, by the way. And the Sorokin does $101 right there. So there you have it. I think that's a really fair price for a Sorokin, Josh. Like a seismic gold rookie out of 50, like that. It's maybe
the other one I really like too is the Barkov Silver Prism. What, 160s, something like that. A Stanley Cup champion, Sasha Barkov. Those cards are awesome looking too. I think that's somebody's gonna be very happy with that purchase.
I think so too. It's a pop 8 on PSA 10. I think it's a great card. Yeah, I really do. Good buy there by whoever got that one. So we're down to these two cards right here. Let's go to some comments quick. The professor says, any initial thoughts about the Burbank Card Show rebranding their name to the West Coast Card Show? I have one initial thought, and that thought is that there is a card show run out of British Columbia in Canada. It's got the longest name. It's the WSCCSCC or something like that. Hold on, I got to tell you guys what this is. And it reminds me of it. That's where I'm getting to with this. It's called, this show is called the Western Canada Sports Collectors Convention, WCSCC. WCSCC, and this is now the the WCCS. I'm not, listen, it's a silly thing, it's random, it doesn't really matter. But aside from comparing it to the name of the Canadian show, which is just way too long and hard to remember for people, I think it makes a lot of sense. It tells me that, because listen, they have a card show in Ontario and one in Anaheim. They don't have a card show in Burbank. So it kind of makes sense that they're kind of separating it from just being about Burbank sports cards. And I think they've gotten everything they can get from the Burbank Card Shop brand as far as building that show. That show now stands on its own 2 feet. So with all that said, I like the change. I think it's good. I think it reflects the West Coast, which is so much more than just Burbank, California. Josh, did you have any thoughts?
I do, and it's more just a general question. I'm just wondering if this thought may have crossed your mind lately, where it seems like we're having an explosion of like major hobby events that feel like they're every week now. And so we just had Fanatics Fest last week. We have the Burbank/West Coast Card Show. We have Van City coming up. There's more expos than ever. And I'm talking more even outside of hockey, just hobby wide. I'm curious to see if the hobby can sustain all of these.
I mean, you know what? I think, my answer is going to be what you don't expect. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because they will exist as long as the hobby can sustain them, right? So once the hobby can sustain them, they'll just stop doing them because it's not going to make sense anymore, right? And it'll just go with the overall cycles of the hobby, I believe. But that said, I think you raise a question that many people are asking. So, I don't mean to trivialize the question. I think that if the hobby couldn't sustain them, that they wouldn't be happening. And everyone is happy coming out of all these shows right now, whether it was the National, Fanatics Fest, Burbank, we're hearing great things about. So and we'll see the Van City Card Show. That thing is shaping up to be an amazing show in Vancouver from the vendors that are coming from all over Canada and the States. I can't wait for that. I kind of been in my own mind considering the Van City Card Show to be Burbank North, because it seems like it's going to be similar to that in terms of the vendor mix and the vibe. I'm super pumped for it.
Well, I wasn't even coming at it from a negative standpoint. I think like Professor just commented too. It's okay.
I think that's going to be it. I think these cards both ended.
Gotcha.
So the Gordie Howe sells for $3,000 USD, and the Bedard Young Gun 9.5 does $540. while the PSA 9 did what, like 320 or something like that. So 9.5s are selling for more than PSA 10s. Let me do a quick refresh here, Josh, and put them in order so we can just compare. So let's go down to the Bedards for a moment. So the BGS 9.5s, they sell for $550 and $540. And remember, one of them, this one has the extra half a point. So I'm glad to see that it didn't get a ton more value than this one without the extra half point, because to me, they're the exact same card with basically the exact same centering. So $540 on the 9.5s and $312 on the 9. That's the best buy right there at $312 if you're looking for value, in my opinion. All right, let's go back to the comments here, Josh. We've got a few to get through, and then we'll wrap this up. But sorry, did you have anything further to say? The auction ended, so I jumped in on you there.
Oh yeah. So the point I was trying to make is not to try to be like negative, like that they won't be successful. But I just think, and to Professor is making a point about like Upper Deck. Like you got these companies like Upper Deck now that are probably having to really change their marketing infrastructure around to. Up until this point, they've gone to basically 3 shows a year, right? The Spring Fall Expo and the National. And now it seems like that the hobby is becoming so event driven, where it's like a guy like you or even us decide we could be on a plane every week now, going somewhere. It's just interesting to see how the hobby is rapidly evolving right now.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not even coming at it from a negative. It's probably way more positive than negative.
I think it is. It's a circuit now. There is a circuit, and it's a circuit that, you have options each weekend too. You might, 2 weekends ago, you could have either gone to the Fanatics Fest, or you could have gone to the East Coast National, or you could have gone to both on the same weekend because they weren't that far from each other in New York. So Laura says the National is the National. Dallas has the Dallas Card Show. Rob has worked hard, so it should always be the Burbank Card Show, in my humble opinion. I hear that, but I just don't agree, Laura. I'm not on the same page. I think to me, it doesn't matter. Rob has worked hard, but so have his partners. They've worked just as hard to build the show up, maybe even harder than he did, because he brought the brand. I think they brought the legwork for the most part. So I don't know. I don't think they need the Burbank brand anymore, and I don't think Rob is the kind of guy that would continue to like demand his name be on there just for. Just to have his name on there. So I'm impressed that they changed the name. And I think it's the right move. I think it's the right move overall. And again, there is no card show in Burbank. Like that's the other thing. There's no card show in Burbank. The card stores in Burbank. The card shows are in Anaheim and Ontario. Professor says, I've been watching and acquire a Gretzky sign of the times for about a year. Well, I think you picked the right night, Professor. He says maybe card vendors like Upper Deck will support and have a presence at the West Coast Card Show. Maybe, but I'll tell you what, Professor, I've been to a couple Burbank shows, and I would say you have like 2 booths that are hockey and, 198 that aren't. So I don't know that they would or wouldn't. I just don't know, but I think they're better off to invest their marketing dollar in Canada, to be honest, just at this point in time, and the National, of course. Because the National, and it's often in Chicago where, you have an Original Six hockey team. Lantern says, what is your estimation on the size of the Van City Card Show? Would it be closer to Edmonton Expo size or closer to Toronto? I'm going to say Edmonton for sure. I don't think it'll be close to Toronto Expo at all. Lantern, I think it's going to be
It's the first one, so you got to give it a little bit of grace in that respect.
Yeah, it won't be close to Toronto Expo. I don't know the square footage. I think it might be bigger than the Edmonton Expo. I have seen the floor plan. I'm just trying to kind of remember what I saw. And I feel like it's going to be bigger than the Edmonton Expo, but I don't think it'll be close to Toronto. Laura wants to know if the Van City will have more hockey. I think you might be being sarcastic. It'll have more hockey than the Burbank show will. That's for sure. So, yeah. Dan Brown says, Jeremy, watch your show with Brian Gray. You can't just let that guy spew. You have to, Daniel Brown, I don't know when you would expect me to fact check that guy on the fly when I'm running a card show, when I'm running a live stream. So, but if you want to fact check him when you're running a live stream, be my guest. But after doing 600 live streams, I can tell you that's virtually impossible. So I will leave it to the viewers to decide what they want to fact check. And please don't put that responsibility on me, Daniel. There's no way I could do that from a practical, realistic, pragmatic perspective. And Laura says the first one in 22 was in Burbank at the Marriott. Oh, fair enough. Was it at I was at the first one. Oh, it was. You're right. I was there, Laura. Yeah, you're right. My bad. It was at the Marriott. I loved that show, by the way. I thought that was a great room. It was a little hot in there, and it was very squishy. Were you there, Laura? It was so squishy. Remember, it was too small, but that was a great show. And thank you for correcting me. It was at the Marriott for sure. Okay, Josh. Anything else from the chat? Any other comments, questions? Happy to go for a few more minutes here, Josh. Anything else? You were, Laura. Laura, did we meet? Another question. Did we meet in person? Did we meet in person? Please let me know that, because if we did, I'll feel silly for asking you. If we didn't, I won't. But I'm just curious if we did, because I'm always happy to see you in the chat here. I just want to know if I'd be able to place a face to the chat name. Josh, any thoughts, any comments?
No, some really cool cards. I think the theme of the night to me was deals. Like, there were some really, really good value buys. The Gretzky PSA 4, and then the Professor's Gretzky Sign of the Times, probably headlines what I'll remember from this particular auction.
I'm with you. This Gordie Howe that I really want to own a copy of, but just can't do it. Just couldn't spend the dough right now. I love that More Hockey Cards Please picked up the PSA 4. The PSA 4 Topps Gretzky rookie. As you mentioned, the Professor picking up the Sign of the Times. I think those are a couple of great buys that we got to see in the chat tonight. So, yeah, good stuff from everybody. Larry won the Ray Bork auto. Congrats, Larry. It's right here on the picture. You got it for $69.60. And as I mentioned, I do love that auto set. It's nostalgic for me. I collected it card by card back in the day. For sure. That's for the future, Laura. All right. We'll see you at a future show for sure. All right. Well, that's it, guys. That'll wrap it up for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you for using the affiliate link. If and when you did, greatly appreciate that. We got an episode of the Gong Show dropping a few hours from now, Josh.
Yep. 3 a.m.
And is it, sorry, I forget what you said. Is it the Buffalo Mount Rushmore? Or is that going to come out on Thursday?
No, that's at 3 a.m. So that's already done. We did the Buffalo Mount Rushmore. We did a really fun kind of we made it into a game. We did a series of Instagram story polls about asking people various concepts, whether it's players or sets or accessories, hobby related topics, and asked if they're over or underrated, and got over 4,000 votes on that. And so that was a lot of fun, and just our normal chaos and hijinks and stuff like that. So it should be a good time.
Good stuff. Hey, producer Louie in the house. What's up, Louie? Good to see you, bud. I like your avatar here with the North Stars, the N on the new Wild logo. Very well done. The Professor says great buys because of great commentary. Glad that you found a useful Professor. More hockey cards. Thank you, Laura. Fantastic show. Jeremy, thank you, Laura. Appreciate you being in the chat on Sunday nights, along with the rest of you guys. Again, reminder, very unlikely that we will be doing the show, or that I'll be doing the show next week. Josh cannot. I will be on vacation in an Airbnb, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to run a show on Sunday night next week. If I can, I will, but don't count on it. So we will be back the Sunday after. Looking forward to that, everybody. So have a great rest of the summer, the rest of the month of August here. Josh?
See you later. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody, with that, this episode of the Fanatics Collect Weekly Hockey Auction Ending Watch Party for August 25th, 2024 is now over.